Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Toronto International Virtual Boat Show Seminar Series, sponsored by On the Water Designs, providing award-winning docks and marine systems across Ontario. Thank you so much for joining us. The seminar will begin momentarily. If you have any technical difficulties throughout the seminar, you are welcome to reach out to me, Katie, your online moderator, via the chat feature at the bottom of your screen. Questions for our speaker can be added to the Q&A box also at the bottom of your screen, and I will ask these questions at the end of the presentation. Without further ado, it is our great pleasure to present Simplify Your Life on Board with Carole Fontaine. Take it away, Carole.
Thank you so much, Katie. It's an honor and a pleasure to be here. Thank you, everyone, for joining me. I'm Carole Fontaine, and I'm here to present Simplify Your Life on Board. And some of you are here, they're interested in simplifying your life, living the simple life. Some of you are liveaboards and you're looking for tips and tricks to have an easier time on board or save space or have a better mindfulness around that small living space. And some of you are here because you're interested in the sailing lifestyle. You're curious and you want to see what it's all about and maybe explore what it has for you and the things that you can do to have a better, more powerful, more satisfying experience. So I lived on the boat for 20 years with my husband on a 41-foot Morgan. And I'm originally from Quebec, from Cowansville, Quebec. And I cruise mostly down in Florida, the Bahamas, the Exumas, up the East Coast. And a few years ago, we sailed to Portland, Maine, and where we finally threw in the anchor. And after 20 years, we moved on land. So I'm on land. I'm in a blizzard right now. So I don't know where you are located, but if you're in Canada, north of us, it's coming your way. So a little bit about me. Besides living on the boat, I'm a best-selling author. I wrote Sail Above the Clouds, How to Simplify Your Life, which is part of a 4-book series about sail, simplify, align, integrate, let go. And I'm honored to share some of the experiences that I've had. There's got some pre-adventures in there, and each chapter has tips on how to simplify different aspects of your life. It was named finalist in Book of the Year in the UK and had garnered some amazing reviews. And I'm really happy to say that it sold across 5 continents. So it's lovely to see it sail across the planet. I published a magazine in Florida for 2 years, Real Sailors Magazine. I'm a graphic designer. I've had multiple businesses online. And I've sailed 20,000 nautical miles with my husband. And we've really enjoyed this lifestyle. And I went through this period of really challenging time where I went through chronic illnesses, surgeries, accidents, and that sent me towards the holistic life to get a lot of trainings to help manage my health and learn some health and wellness to live a healthier life. And nowadays, I really enjoy sharing these tips with you, with readers and people that I teach and share and coach with, so that they have some awareness into mindfulness. They can bring the mindfulness into their life, whether it's living aboard, realizing how we attach so much into the material life and how to detach to this and really simplify your life so you can clearly see what's your purpose, what's your path, where you want to go, live a healthier, freer life. Because when we sail out there, let's be honest, we are in search of freedom. We're in search of happiness, freedom, of leaving behind all the hustle and bustle of the hectic lifestyles that we have nowadays. And this lifestyle is really amazing for that. So why not even explore not only simplifying your mindset, your environment, but also your mindset. So today, We will explore simplifying your life on the boat, simplifying your mindset. We will look at into how can you sail above the drama and trauma in your life, because on the boat you'll be faced with a lot of scary experience. You'll be asked to go outside of your comfort zone. You'll be thrown into a cabin with crew members, your spouse, and intense situation. So not only is all your stuff needs to fit on the boat, you also need to have, you're also going to have your stuff between your relationship stuff between each other. So it's a big accomplishment to spend that time in close quarters with a person. You become very aware of the triggers. So you want to learn also how can you simplify your mindset to have an easier time with your crew. So, and finally, we're going to go into straight hands-on practical space and time-saving tools of how you can, help your life on board. So it's a monumental task to move from land to sea life to on a boat, to go from any big house to a boat or even a small house. It's stressful, it's emotional, it's physical, it's mental. It brings up a lot of stuff. And for me, I think the first 6 months that we lived aboard, we moved aboard. I think I was 30 years old when we moved aboard 20 somewhat years ago. And it was maybe 6 months and I had kind of like a grieving process that I had to learn to let go of all the stuff that we had accumulated. We had a big house, the pool, all the bells and whistles, the designer clothes and stuff on the boat, on the house. So to let go of all of that, to having barely too little shelf for personal items, and the rest needed to be essential, practical stuff or your personal care stuff or kitchenware. It's a big thing. So you happy that you're going and you're going to be free of these things, but there's also a part of you that's longing and you feel the loss. So you have to honor that process and allow yourself to embrace that process. So there's one thing, why is it important to declutter and downsize your space? Well, first of all, you don't have room on the boat or in a small home, because there's some people into small living as well, or RV or any small space. You're going to save money. You're going to be less attached to things. You're going to concentrate on the important things in life. You're going to organize your stuff, so it's going to be easier to find things if you don't have a cluttered space in your boat. And it's going to have a more high vibration if you surround yourself with only items that really lights you up and fill you up with joy. And it's easy on the planet. So, we are boaters, we're close to nature, so we don't want to bring that consumption and that wasteful way of living onto the boat. We want to be more conscientious about saving and using things that are maybe easier on the environment than the wasteful lifestyle that is typical on land. So I ask myself these questions when I look at items and I want to declutter. So there's 4 questions that I ask. Is it essential or practical? Does it bring me joy? If you look at the things that you surround yourself with, is it just a knick-knack that someone gave you 25 years ago that you really even forgot where it came from, and it's collecting dust and not really, bringing anything to your life? Are you truly in love with that item? Have you used it in the past year? Is it taking up room, renting space in your boat, and you're not using it at all? And can someone else make better use of it? So when you look at these items, and I'm not talking about things, security items, safety gear, diving gear, your kitchenware. I'm talking about like extra clothing, the knickknacks, the frames, all the stuff that we carry, and even the memories, the stuff that has some sentimental value with it. So look at these items and ask yourself these questions. Now, downsizing and simplifying, um, when you look at the process, I was talking about that grieving process. That's because we have a huge attachment to these things, and sometimes we refuse to let go. And the whole process allows us to really see how strong that tie is. And moving on the boat is really it's a declaration of freedom. For me, it's like I am done with this huge lifestyle that there's so much pressure to keep up and maintain, and I'm going to let go. So if I want to let go of that lifestyle. I want to clear the clutter. I want to downsize. I want a simple life. So if you want to embrace that lifestyle, why not also embrace it with the stuff that you carry? Give yourself permission to let go of the items. So when you start releasing these items, letting go, it's going to help you also letting go of other things that are more hard to define. So this is the first step in really downsizing, is really giving yourself permission and be curious about it. If you're curious about, oh, well, I'm really holding on to this thing and I don't really know why, but I don't want to let go of this thing, but it's a knick-knack that's really not of great importance. Be curious, observe your relationship with this item and ask yourself questions. Be aware of how much your feeling of security is attached to things. Because when you're going to move on a boat, keep in mind that this boat may sink at any time. I hope it never happens to you, but it's a fact. We're bringing a floating boat onto an environment that is dangerous to human. We can sink, we can die, we can lose everything. There's collisions that happen. There's a lot of incidents. It's a fact of life. There's a dangerous aspect into that cruising. So how much importance do you attach to the things you're going to bring on board and the boat itself? You want to make sure that you put your priority on different things than attachment to things. So if you think of just this last few weeks when the people in California had their houses burnt down, and that was so sad, but the people on the news that came and said, we lost everything, but they said, but we have each other, and that's what really matters. So that's really when we're faced with these big traumatic things, and it's going to happen if you cruise for a long amount of time, that you're going to face dangerous incidents where you think you're going to die. It's happened to me many times, and that really, really changes the focus into what you value in life. So this process really helps you see what you value in life. So focus on relationship, connection with the environment, things that you value more than the material things, and really embrace the process. So start with things that are of less value to you. Definitely don't start with grandma's clock. And actually, you might want to think about giving out these very sentimental things to you that you have a very hard time to people that you care about. You can gift them to your friends, gift them to people in your family. So you might actually see them again. And what happens is that it builds up your letting go muscle. So some helpful hints to giving away is to make different piles. So if you're on shore and you're living on the boat, make different piles, put them in your car. Or if you're on the boat, look at a space where you can put them out, take them out of your environment and put them maybe in a bag in the bow room or somewhere out of the way that's ready to take off the boat. Make a boat for donation, for recycling, for throwing out, or discarding. And as soon as you're back on shore, next time that you go on shore, look at all the marinas have in certain area, usually the laundry room or something like that, where you can give stuff away and the next boat that comes around, it's like, oh, look at that. I've gathered some stuff over the years like that. And I've also, exchanged some stuff with other people. So don't leave them around your area, and make sure that you separate them so they're all together. You can just grab the pile that's ready for donation, and you can go to a shelter and give them to someone that can really make good use to it. So this is the rating system that I use to downgrade, to downsize, to simplify. So when I look at the items that I have, and again, those are not like your safety equipment, basic gear. This is really the stuff that doesn't fall into those categories. Rate them from a scale of 1 to 10. And from that, 10 being the highest, you want to keep the 8, 9, and 10. So everything else, you get rid of it. You just get rid of it. When we moved aboard, we had so much stuff. We had an apartment. We went from a big house with the pool, all the bells and whistle. We took 6 months to refurbish Windsong, and we downsized the house first into a small apartment. So that forced us to do an initial mass cleanup. We did the flea market. I advertised, I sold, I gave away, I donated. And then everything that came into the apartment, we thought was going to end up being on the boat. And then actually, as we prepared the boat to move aboard, we realized that I still have way too much stuff for the boat. It wouldn't fit in any circumstances. So I had to do an extra step again and do that downsizing again. So once again, when you have that pile left, that 8, 9, and 10 items, split it in half. And you might gasp, some of you say, oh my God, I can't keep just these small items. But yeah, you can, because those are only material things. So you take the 9 and 10 and higher, and those are the things that you're bringing aboard. If you hesitate looking at something, it's a no. So you want these items that resonate with you so much that you can't depart from it. And it's like, oh my God, I absolutely love this thing. Because remember, the space you're going to live in, it's going to be very small. You want to make sure that everything in your space is really either practical for your sail, or if it brings joy, that it brings immense joy. That it's not just something collecting dust, or that's going to hit you in the head when you're healing too much in the storm. So really think about the room that you have. And for me, I only had a small space in the salon, and I had a shelf in the master bedroom. And in all of these spaces, over the years, if I found an item that I really enjoyed and I really had to get, and I brought it on board, something else had to go. So that way, I kind of went through all the time, the things that I had bought 6 months ago, a year ago, that did not resonate with me anymore, it had to go. So I had to donate it. It becomes a fun process, because even though you love it, you imagine how much enjoyment it's going to bring to the next person. So that's really is a nice way to go about it. So try the rating system and see how that helps you. And remember to keep at it and revisit your space every 6 months or so. So make sure you don't go back into that accumulating mode. So it's difficult in the beginning. And as I said, you can gift it, bless it, give it to someone that you know, or just imagine the enjoyment that someone's going to have with the item. So this exercise is really, as I said, to make you realize how much attachments that you have to things, because it's a fact that the boat may sink. So how will you act if you lose everything? So you don't want it to happen, but it's an awareness, and that awareness is so powerful. It's such a release and a surrender to to say that, well, if it goes, it goes. And it's okay because I'm okay. And to realize that you're okay without stuff, without anything, that the only thing that matters in your life is your health, your well-being, and that you're there. Everything else can go away. You're still going to be fine. You're still going to be okay. It's a huge realization, because before moving on the boat, I did not realize how much attachment I had to things. I rely my safety, my security, my sense of identity to stuff. And when I stripped that away, I had to look at what was going on inside of me. And that was a little bit scary in the beginning, because when you strip stuff away, you're like, oh my goodness, I have to look at my life and what's going on. So that process naturally brings you into looking within, at looking at what's important in life. And if you're curious about it, it can bring you an immense sense of surrender and a sense of expansion. As you prepare to sail to this big expansive space, one of the biggest one on earth, why not also deep dive into yourself and really look within? It's just a beautiful process. There's so much personal growth. Sailors have long written books about how they connected with nature, how it opened their mindset, how they surrendered to the beautiful process of sailing, to the connection. The mindset is amazing. So simplifying your mindset is where we declutter our mind. So I want to do a little, before we go into the space saving tips, I want to talk about mindset, because mindset is the number one cause for accident on boats is distraction and inattention. So why is it important? Because out there, you're going to be put into situations that are scary, that are out of your comfort zone. You might face danger. You're going to be asked to respond quickly, and that is to save life, save boats, save property. So you want to have a clear mind. You don't want to be cluttered with a bunch of stuff in your mind. So when your mind is cluttered, you can't think clearly, you're confused, you overreact, you're indecisive, you can't plan, and you get, sometimes you freeze and you don't react. You make mistakes that can be very dangerous, and you're in fear mode because you're not confident. You don't communicate clearly. So if your crew member are actually in the process of doing something that will help solve the situation, if you're not clear about it and you're concerned about all kinds of things in your mind, you might actually hinder that process. So it's really important to have your mind clear so you can make calm and rational decisions, and that you have that calmness and that peacefulness really helps bring the tension down with your crew in any situation. You can make decisions clearly. You can brainstorm ways of how to get out of trouble. You're pleasant to be around, and you can pivot quickly, and you can figure out, you can see things that are happening and really avoid disaster. You can adapt to change, and it makes you a more confident navigator, not only in life, but in your vessel, and being a lot more open-minded, a lot more eager to learn, because you don't have all these limiting beliefs clogging your mind. So the clearer your mind is, the more in tune with your intuition is. The more you're going to trust your gut feeling, and the more it's going to help you out of scary passages. I'm going to give you an example. We sailed north 2018 or 19, and we were on Chesapeake Bay. And some of you are familiar with Chesapeake Bay. We were not at that time. We were solely southern border sailors, and we'd done the coast. We know offshore, we know the ocean, but for us, when we heard the bay, we're like, oh, we can relax, we can chill, it's a bay. So we're chilling on the day, we're sailing. We knew it was an overcast day. We knew there was some rain coming, but they did not call for this huge storm on the Weather Channel. So we expected a little bit of weather, but nothing like what came up. It really turned quickly. And within, I want to say 20 minutes, we were from a drizzle and some 10 to 15 knots. We went to 58 knots, sustained wind, some gust, 10-foot seas, and the Chesapeake Bay gets really, really, really choppy. So it's like a washing machine. We were not expecting this. We had a dog on board. He was totally terrified. By the time we decided we brought the sails were in, but the genoa was open. And by the time we realized that it just came on us like this, we were trying to winch the genoa in, really having a hard time. We were not able to bring it all in, so it frayed the tip of it. My husband had to put his harness on and we tied him to the helm. I went downstairs, brought the dog in. The boat was heeling 25 degrees and then slamming down so much that the little weigh thing on the level gauge got stuck for 2 days at 40 degrees. So you can imagine that things that hadn't moved in 20 years all of a sudden found themselves on the floor. I was on the floor with the dog because he was trying to calm him down, and my toaster oven went back because we had forgotten to tie it the night before. And then the fire alarm started. Smoke filled in. Eric said, "What's going on?" He had black oil spewing up in the cockpit. He couldn't leave his post because the way that the boat was sailing, we could not change course right now because we were between two land masses with rocks. So we were being washed in the washing machine, and it was up to me to find a way out of there because I'm the navigator. So for a moment there, I panicked. And what people do when they panic, you freeze or you cry or you can't do anything. And that's what happened to me. And even after years of sailing, I was really kind of surprised, but the strength of the storm scared me. It was terrifying. So I took a moment, I used the training that I had taken from all these holistic training, the meditation, and I went to my breathing to calm myself down. So I sat on the ground, my dog is panicked, trying to climb, and while things are howling, the boat is heeling, everything is scrambling around, I closed my eyes for a minute and I started to take long breaths in and long breaths out. I calmed myself down because when you're in a panic, the breath flow stops. You go into fight or flight. You can't think. Your breath, your heart is pounding, and you can't think because everything, your senses are heightened. So you want to change your response to a rest and digest, which is very hard to do when you have this situation. But it's so important because you need to wake up. You need to make decisions. You need to save your ass from what's happening. So I took these long, deep breaths in and out. And then when I opened my eyes, which it seemed like 5 minutes to me, but it wasn't 5 minutes. It was just long enough to calm myself down and to really clear my mindset. After that, I was able to get to the charts, use my apps, calculate a new course. We needed to find a wide inlet so that we could sail in without being thrown on the rocks because the seas were so rough that all the inlets that we had around us were too tight and too dangerous, and we couldn't risk it. And I was able to navigate a new course, tell my captain clearly, you're going to go so many miles for on this angle, and then you're going to change your course to so and so, and for that, how long you're going to go. And this is where we're going. So you plug that in the GPS. We started to veer course, and it took us a couple of hours, but we got out of it. But that little moment, that few minutes completely changed the way that I was looking at the situation. And it brought me back to what was important right here, right now, in the present moment. So how you manage your stress in this situation is very important, not only for you, but for your crew. And you must learn to manage that stress also in your life. It's going to be good for anything. So that's a picture of me that day and one of the hurricanes we lived through. So the quickest way to calm yourself down is really through breathing exercises. Now, when we're stressed, the breath stops, right? It becomes shallow. We don't breathe from the belly. We become shallow breathing. We're like, when you're in fear mode, you hold it in. So that means that if your stress affects your breath, then your breath can affect your stress in your body, vice versa. So use simple, very simple techniques to control your stress and feel better about navigating your life. So here's a simple exercise to help you to mindset, and then we'll jump right back into our tips for simplifying life on board and our space saving tips right after. So this is the simplest breathing exercise you'll ever learn that you can remember. Long exhales. You inhale to the count of 4. You exhale longer. Count of 7, 8, or 9. 1, 2, 3. You do it through the nose and you exhale through the nose. There's no pause. You can do this anywhere. You can do this before a meeting, before a launch. If you're stressful, before anchoring or docking your boat. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7. And then 1, 2, 3, 4. And again. And you can do this for just a few minutes. It's going to take just a few minutes. It's going to calm yourself down. And when you're going to come back to the situation, okay, I'm present. I can do this. So it's going to instantly switch your nervous system back into the rest and digest. And then you can be a proactive crew member. So why the small space living, everything is amplified. So even the relationship and the stuff that you carry between you and the people and the crew member is going to be amplified as well. So really be curious. Be curious about what's triggering the other person and how you're triggering the other person, vice versa. And use mindset, use very really an open heart. Bring an open heart to the situation. When we're in a small space, everything is amplified. So the person might be triggered by your stuff. You might not like the way they react. You might not like the way that they talk to you. You really need to communicate and really bring a peaceful mindset into the situation. It will go a long way into making your journey a lot memorable. So as you minimize your space, you're maximizing that space. And let's face it, we're moving aboard really to embrace that freedom. So take the opportunity to really go within. And let's see, this is I'm also sharing a little bit about my book, which is a mix of adventures and simplifying tips. And you can, by using the method S.A.I.L, simplify, align, integrate, let go, you can learn, it's really going to help you to sail above the drama and trauma. And you can read the first 2 chapters of that book on sailabovetheclouds.com. It's free. Sign up to my newsletter. There's going to be a class real soon that's coming up, a master class that help you really go deep into mindfulness and bring tips and tools to maximize your life and really follow your purpose and learn to apply these techniques into your daily life and to really let go of all the stress and the stuff that's you're holding on to. So let's jump into space saving tips. And some of you might already know a few of these. Some of you might be applicable for life on land as well. So one of my favorite places to start with is the galley. This is the kitchen for you non-boaters. The galley is a huge space guzzler because lots of times we bring in so much stuff, too much stuff, and instead from starting from scratch, we buy stuff that has a lot of packaging and we stow the boat with all these things instead of starting from scratch. So condiments do not need refrigeration. Some people might freak out a little bit about hearing this. The mayo, ketchup, and mustard do not need to live in the refrigerator. For us boaters, refrigeration is a big thing because we usually have a small refrigeration unit on the boat. In 20 years, I never put the mayo, never put the ketchup or mustard in the refrigeration. But the number one thing you need to know is not to put a dirty knife into it. So when you use it, you clean your knife before you put it back in there. And you're never gonna have a problem. I never had any condiments turn on me. Make your own salad dressing. Bring herbs and spices, good oils, and different kind of vinegars and blend yours instead of buying all these prepackaged things, which you're going to have plastic to throw out and to stow away. When you cruise, do a numbered menu. This is a really fun one. I always invited guests that would come cruise with us to share their meals with us because we always we shared the meals. One night it was us, another night it was the friends that we were bringing aboard. So we would create a numbered menu. For example, you have 3 weeks worth of menu pre-established, breakfast, lunch, dinner. And when you go shop, always remove all the styrofoam, all the packaging, and freeze all your meats into a Ziploc. Identify the Ziploc and number it that's got the corresponding number with the menu. Freeze it in ascending order. So when you go into meal preparation time, you don't have to scratch your head. What am I serving today? You just go by the menu and you can skip a few days and mix it up, but you can only skip whatever's on the top of the freezer. You can't go pick what's at the bottom. It's a big mass of frozen solid meat. And do your provisioning that's going to be in the freezer at least 3 days before you leave shore. So that way your freezer has time to make a solid block, especially if you have a cold plate refrigerator like we did. So you want it really frozen solid before leaving. Try Carole dishware. It takes a lot of less space and it rarely breaks. I think I've never broken one, but there is one that's lost somewhere in the Bahamas. Now, talking about glass, get rid of all the glass. You know why? It's going to save you time from picking up glass from your finger, from your feet, or from your dog's paws, because glass will break eventually. They all do. It's just a matter of time. Go with, try tumblers. These tumblers that are insulated thermos, they're really great. They can float. They keep your drink cold and hot, and they save you on putting ice cubes in there. I always think about how am I going to stack whatever I buy into the boat. It's very important to stack things neatly. Invest in a can crusher. That is such a conversation starter. Everybody that came on board always wanted to crush the cans. And I'd keep them by the counter. Oh, let me do it. So they crush the cans, throw them away. That really helps a lot. And then get rid of them the next time that you're on shore. In the kitchen, there's all these small appliances that people collect in houses, and they have cupboards and cupboards and cupboards of things that they use once a year or once every 2 years. You can do all the things that these appliances do with some skills. So learn to do it. On the boat, we only had, of course, we had the toaster and the coffee machine. And we splurged, we had a microwave, but we had a crock pot and a chopper blender. And with that, we cooked for 20 years, and my husband's a chef. He's an amazing cook. We never lack of anything. And you got the time. If you're living on the boat, it's the relaxed lifestyle. All you have to do is sail, enjoy the day, take a dive, prepare a great meal. What are the most amazing things to do when you're sailing? Use space bags. Space bags are amazing. I use them all the time. I moved on land now and I still use them. And I roll everything that goes in it. That is the best tip that I ever learned. If there's one thing that you want to remember for space saving is roll everything. Roll your towels really tightly, roll your clothes, the linens, the blankets, even if you can, canvas covers. You know, the covers sometimes when we're sailing, all the covers go somewhere. Roll everything that's linen, that's flexible, roll it. Get the air out, put it in a Ziploc, and use a shop vac instead of a vacuum on board. So the shop vac doubles as using picking up water, and it also a great help for taking the air out of your space bags. It will make a huge difference in your space. And roll your dirty clothes too. Yeah, if you roll and fold your dirty clothes, then your laundry bag is going to be so much smaller when you throw it in the dinghy and go to shore. It's really going to make a big difference in space saving. Invest in putting racks, custom built racks, everywhere that you have room on the boat. Now, those are all different racks that we had, either that came with the boat or that we had made. Some of them my dad made, and some of them we bought or we adapted to the boat. This is an amazing way to really maximize your space. And as you live aboard, I wouldn't recommend doing this until you've been on the boat for a little while. You'll know where an item belongs, where it would be practical for you to put a certain rack or a certain thing. So by the front door, you might want to have your flashlight, a few tools, a few things. You can hide stuff in cushions. Lots of boaters know this. You can make cushion covers and put a zipper in, and then you stick your towels, extra linen, stuff that you don't really use a lot, but you need to have on board. You can put so much stuff into decorative cushion, and you want to have their decorative cushion. They're nice, they're comfortable. You can use the space behind the drawers. When I discovered that there was room behind the drawers on Windsong, I was so happy because, as you know, any space that you can stow things on the boat is a gift because you're so restricted. So be really curious about every nook and corner of your boat. And in the beginning, you might want to write a chart down. It was tough for me in the beginning because, well, first of all, you don't have a lot of space. You hit yourself everywhere. The first 6 months, oh my goodness, I had bumps and bruises everywhere. And I was like, oh, I couldn't find anything. And you go through that grieving period of the big house and your stuff. And it's like, what am I doing here? So give yourself a good 6 months to adapt to the lifestyle and to go through that process of letting go of the land life, of changing your mindset, really, and adapting to this new, very, very unconventional lifestyle. So in that first period, I used to lose stuff because when I moved aboard, I was like, oh, I'll put this here, I'll put this there. And then 6 months later, this environment is so foreign and there's so much little nooks and corners on the boat that we lost stuff. Where did you put this, honey? I'm like, I don't know, beats me. So I started making a chart and I wrote things down, especially the stuff like the behind the drawer, the stuff that are less accessible. So I had with my the captain's log, there's a chart of the boat, and I wrote myself little post-it notes just so I could quickly find the things until I got used to it. Use the space between the ladder. I love this feature on my boat. And I can't tell you how many times from how many boaters that came aboard said, oh my God, I wish I had this on my boat. What a genius way to make the most of the space. And we had 2 ladders, one in the master bedroom, the master cabin, and one in the salon. There's so much room in that space. And since it's right there to go out, you can put your emergency things in there. You put your flashlight, diving knife, anything that you need to go when something's happening. I was going to say something I can't say online. But when you need to haul out and go, reach in there and boom, you're ready to go. So think of all the ways that you can custom build in the boat and save space. These, where you see the plexiglass, were actually shelves when we moved aboard. And what we did is we simply put little rails and a plexiglass there, and that became my canned good cabinets. And because it's a plexiglass, you can see through it. You can't tell from the picture, but you could tell looking at it what was in there, so you could see where you were going for before opening the cabinet. So there's a lot of shelves on boats usually that are not closed in. So that's a way to maximize the space, because you can put a lot more into an enclosed shelf than an open one, and the things aren't going to fall on you when you're sailing. Oh, and look up, because there's space overhead. You can put hammocks. I love hammocks. You can put hammocks for your vegetables and your bananas. This rack here I bought at Michael's. It was raw wood. It cost maybe $12 at the time, $14. I dyed it and I color matched it with the teak in the boat. So look into these arts and crafts stores. There's a lot of stuff that you can repurpose for your boat. Always organize stuff in categories. So even if you're on whether you're on a boat or in a house, put everything in a category. So all your hobbies are together, your diving gear, your medical things. So you're not looking around for things if you need it in an emergency. Always put the things back where they belong as soon as you're done with it. First of all, because it won't clutter the boat. It'll go back to where it belongs. If somebody else wants to use it, it's there. It's a good practice to have, so that way you're not tripping over things, and things are where they're supposed to be. And use Velcro. Velcro, Velcro, Velcro. Velcro, duct tape, and space bags, and rolling your towels. Those are just my favorite things about being on the boat. Velcro, you can Velcro cabinets, enclosure, you can Velcro linens, anything, the knickknacks on by the sink that you don't want to fly, even decorative things. So I've seen that on some boats. We even Velcroed this. We Velcroed our varnished covers. We had a few of them, our cup holders. And then when we weren't cruising, we could stow them under inside, so they weren't being burned by the sun when we weren't using them, because as you know, varnishing is a constant thing on the boat. So you can protect that by just tearing it off, and you don't have hole drilled in your hull. And cover your varnished items with sunbrella. Put anti-slip and grippy mats everywhere underneath your cushions, so the settee cushions doesn't fall when you're heeling. Underneath every carpet. This is so important, because the number one things that happens on the boat is slip and fall. We hurt each other either because we're tripping on something or the carpet's flying off. You want to have, if you're barefoot, that's fine, but otherwise you want to have good boat shoes, and always wear either Tevas or good deck shoes when you're in watery situation up on the deck. But down below, really think about putting anti-grippy things everywhere. We put them on our shelving so things wouldn't move around. And you get it at the dollar store. It's really, really cheap. Use cloth napkins and dish rags instead of paper towels. And that is really an important thing to note, because the amount of napkins and paper towel that we use is just absolutely nuts. And I've got 4 linen napkins that I've used for probably 10, 15 years. And I wash them and reuse them. Imagine the amount of paper towel I might have used just by throwing them away. So think about it. Think about switching from cloth, from paper towel to cloth napkins. Digitalize everything. I'm a digital graphic designer. I do social media. I do a lot of things online. as well as do my holistic training and writing. So for me, when it became available to digitalize things, I just scanned all the pictures that I had and I moved the pictures off board. Pictures take so much room, and the mold really, it's going to get to it eventually. So you want to digitalize that, and you don't want to have your precious memories lost, either because there's mold or water damage, because there's always a leak here and there on a boat. And what if it goes on your picture album? How sad is it to lose these precious things? Digitalize them and move them off the boat. You can always carry your important papers. So that's really important, because you need to have your personal papers and the boat papers with you at all times. You can use a shower curtain in the head. That's the toilet / shower for the non-boaters. And that's really, we use that because we had teak doors, and without using that, my teak doors would get very moldy. So we just put a shower curtain. You save time on cleaning, scrubbing, and revarnishing once in a while that precious wood. This is the best investment that we did on the boat, and it's a hard top. So consider putting a hard top on your boat. It has so much space, because you can stargaze and sunbathe, you can pack your sails, you can put your solar panels on top. It was one of the best features we've ever did. And when we were stormed, there's curtain enclosure that go with it. And when we were in storms, it really added to a feeling of security when we cruised, because the bimini top that we had before, then we lost probably 2 or 3 bimini tops in different storms over the years, because we were in the South. So there's 10 or 12 named storm every year that you go through when you live aboard. And when we put that top on Windsong, it was such a different feeling when you cruise and when you sail. You can hold on to it, you can clip your harness on it. It really adds an extra layer of protection that I felt was the best investment that we've ever made. It's just some other pictures. And you can make bags for everything that you stow on deck, for your lines, the generator, your hammock, anything that you want to stow. Use umbrella. They last forever. They protect your items so they're out of the sun, and you have a clean deck, and you can color match it to the color of your boat. Write a cheat sheet for all the things that you're going to teach your guests that are important. The first thing they do when you come aboard is teaching them to how to use the radio to call for help. Definitely important. Of course, how to use the head. So it's very important to teach certain things, your boat rules or whatever you want your guests to know. So do just a one sheet, laminate it, leave it in the guest room. So that way that when they're in their cabin at night, it's there, they can reread it. You don't have to repeat it to each guest that come on board. And it's a great reminder for you as well, because you're like, oh, I forgot to show you how to use the head. Well, here, this is for you to read. You go over it and it's done. You can use a toy water gun for water removal, and in the dinghy or in the refrigerator, like our refrigerator was always had some water at the bottom. We had a cold plate refrigerator, so we used it to get the water out instead of scooping it out. And you can use it for more other things too. Very fun things in the dinghy. You can go under the attack. So establish predetermined hand signal when you're anchoring, and make sure that everybody that cruises on the boat knows the same hand signal. So that way you're not screaming, you're not confused, you know what's going on. If it's completely stop, left, right, forward, and turn it off, we're anchored. Establish the same ones and use that. You're going to look such like a pro when you come into the anchorage and you're like doing your hand signal, boom, quietly without screaming. Is there anything more annoying than seeing a boater come and either the husband is screaming at the wife or the wife is screaming at the husband, and you're like, oh my goodness, and you feel terrible for the person. So it calms it down. So you have a mindset of peacefulness, of respect, and of awareness. And if you have a doggy on board, this is Dozer. He's not with us anymore. That was our second dog that we raised on Windsong. Well, train him to go on a pee pad. So that way, when you have crossings to do or you're cruising out there, you don't feel bad because he needs to go and he wants to go and you can't. Sometimes it happens when you have crossings, and he can go and relieve himself in the little pee pad, and you just rinse it off from the ocean, and you're ready to go, and he can go and relax, and you can all relax and be happy. So if you enjoyed the show and the presentation, sign up to my newsletter at sailabovetheclouds.com for some mindfulness tips, from some boating tips, and to follow me and also see when my second book is coming out. And I'd love to share some adventures and some tips on how to better your life and live a happier life. And we'll open for questions if there's anybody that has questions.
Very good. Our first question here is, how did you manage with healthcare?
Healthcare. My husband had a job, and I got healthcare through him. We always had a land life. My husband always had a land life. So we cruised, but wherever we went, we would dock for months at a time, and then you would go to. I worked from the boat, but we were always tied somewhere. We weren't able to just go and earn our living from the boat. So through him, we were able to have healthcare. When we left and we came up here, we were lucky because we had the Obamacare. So we had that for a while.
And how much do you estimate was the monthly cost for a couple?
For health insurance? Oh goodness, that was.
I mean, both, perhaps health insurance. It doesn't specify necessarily, but health insurance or in total.
That was years ago. I could not tell you. It was expensive. I don't remember. I'm sorry. and it wouldn't be accurate anyway because things have changed so much.
Indeed. Another question we have is why did you stop cruising? What made you decide to live on land again?
After 20 years, my husband really started having a hard time with the heat in the South. It's really, he almost went through like andropause. He needed to be in AC all the time. He was unhappy. He needed to be off the boat. It lost his pizzazz. He really lost the fun part of it. I think I'd still be on the boat, honestly. I love the lifestyle, and it's okay. I embrace any experience, and we made the decision to come up here and try land life, and I'm really, really happy, but I do miss it immensely. And we do want to go cruise again, but charter and go in the islands and rent a boat and go on vacation and charter. So that's our plan. But the maintenance, the taking care of it, the living on it, I think everything after 20 years might lose a little bit of its shine, and we were ready for something new. So we're thinking about RVing now. So that would be something we want to do because we've never explored, went on the RV and explored the Americas, and there's so much to explore. So we're thinking maybe that would be the next thing for us, is really get an RV and just go on a big adventure.
That sounds amazing. And folks, we do still have time for another few questions, so by all means put those in the chat and the Q&A. And in the meantime, I will thank everyone for joining us very much today. We are interested in your feedback for this seminar or topic ideas that you would like us to cover in the future. Simply click on the Evaluate tab located just above the seminar description on the virtual show and complete the form. After the show, all attendees will receive a post-show survey. Be sure to check out all the features at the virtual Toronto Boat Show, including exhibitors, Tibbs Live, and the community section where you can have interactive discussions with other boaters. And if you have any questions, be sure to check out the info booth. And we also have another question here. Approximately what was your monthly or annual budget?
Good question. Our budget. I don't know that number, actually. I never stopped and really looked at it. I know we spent everything, every dime that we made, we spent. I can tell you that. It's pricey. We lived in marinas in different locations, and marinas is very expensive. We did not do the anchor stuff a lot, just because, I mean, that was what we liked. We liked when we went to cruise, we did a lot of anchoring, but when we came back to shore and we needed to work, then we had to live in different marinas. So that, I know that's a pricey lifestyle. I wish I had that number handy for you. But again, it would not be accurate because things are so out of proportionally expensive right now. Even in the last 2 years since COVID, it's crazy how much it went up. But it's worth it. Every little bit of it is worth it, because the amount of memories and experience and fun that we had is so much worth it. I have zero regret of spending those 20 years doing what we did and ending up with no house, no money, no 401k, but having a boatload of memories and adventures to talk about for the rest of my life, and to remember and to write about. So whatever budget that you have, you can make it work. I'm sure you can. It's worth it. Do it. Don't wait.
Very good. And on that note, we will wrap up there. Thank you so much, Carole. Thank you to everyone for joining. We are here until Sunday, January 30th. Have a great rest of your day at the Toronto Boat Show. Thanks, Carole.
Much. Thank you, everybody, for coming. Have a great day.